everyone, welcome back to another album review. In this video, I'm going to review Grey Area by Little Simz. This new album from UK rapper Little Simz was actually released more than a month ago. It was actually released on March 1st, so I know I'm a bit behind, but this is one of those albums that I decided to give it a bit of a more time to just see if I can appreciate it a bit more. Because this new album from Little Simz did not really grab my attention that much from the first listen. I knew that there were some tracks that I liked a lot, but I wanted to see how this is going to resonate with me as time passes by. So I didn't want to do just a rushed review from just a couple of listens, because I really saw it as one of those albums which could potentially be a grower, and that was pretty much the case. I saw myself coming more and more back to some of the first tracks of the album. I think that the first half has incredibly solid tracks, and I also give a bit more attention to the second half, which didn't really impress me at first, and the second half still doesn't really impress me. I would actually say that some of the tracks from the second half actually appreciate it a bit even less from what I've heard at first, but some of the first tracks make for some of the most solid and some of the most well done hip hop tracks I think I'm going to hear all year. This album really blew up, and it's not that much of a usual phenomenon for a UK hip hop album, and this album definitely offers some of these elements you can find in your typical UK hip hop album, from some of its catchy and jazzy old school beats to fast rhythmic flows, and this was what I pretty much expected for this album, and I got all of that. But since there was that much of a fuss about this album, I decided to give it a shot myself. Offence immediately gives a very positive first impression of the album. It has a really nice and intriguing bass, which also has some really nice melody switch ups in the song. The beat itself is great, it has a jazzy natural drumming feel, and Lims's herself, her rapping, her flow is excellent. She goes so well with the song, her verses are solid. The lyricism is really tight as well. The much more serious vibe really shows, and even the whole screaming chorus, the change-ups, is a really solid introduction for the album. Both goes with the same more banging direction, a really nice sort of jazz drum beat and bass line, and some really sick, distorted vocals. After this point, the album goes into a more mellow side of things, especially with the next two songs, Selfish and Wounds, which both songs have really great features on the chorus of the songs, with Cleo solo on Selfish and Chronixx on Wounds, fitting so well with a nice and beautiful approach on the songs. In terms of flow and rapping, Little Simz still is spot on in these tracks as well, and like I said, despite being a change of direction, being a bit more mellow, they don't actually drag the album down. Instead, they offer their own flair in the atmosphere on the album. Venom is the shortest track of the album, and it was the one that I was kind of skeptical whether I like this song or not. What didn't really intrigue me about the song that much was the kind of weird mixing and the production in the song. I think it could have been a better job, especially the ride on this thing. It sounds really loud, like it has the protagonist role in the entire beat, and it also sounds like so plastic and basic, but out of all the tracks, this was actually the one that grew the most on me. The orchestrated string samples sound really horrifying. It's probably the nastiest song on the album, and Little Simz goes off in this song. Her verses, her bars are spot on, they're great. After this point is where I was kind of skeptical of how much I like this album, but I think the first half has that great highlights that they're still enough to make for a somewhat compelling hip hop album. It's not like the second half is complete trash, but it feels more like a recycling of some ideas. It actually drags down a bit to the more mellow side of things. There are other moments where I think that the sound and production choices are not that flattering, and the features from Little Dragon and Michael Kiwanuka are not that stand out. 101 FM has a nice melody. I kind of like the sampling in this thing. Remind me of something of like traditional Japanese or Chinese era music. It has a sort of Eastern era vibe that it's cute, it's catchy, but I don't think it's that compelling as to how the whole thing is structured, feeling more like just having a continuous verse verse, and the beat and the melody stays pretty much the same up until the end. And then the next 4 tracks feel like those more mellow moments that are kind of forgettable. They don't add that much to the album, but we're still talking about a short album, so it's not like the whole thing is entirely ruined. I also like how this album is short, keeping it plain and simple, which is something that we don't usually see, especially from a UK hip hop album, which they usually tend to go for about 15 songs and going for more than an hour of material. So I like how this album gets straight to the point. I think Lil Simz as a rapper is incredible. She has nice bars, she has nice lyrics, she has a great flow. Some of the production and the sampling in some of the cuts is really good, a vibe that can be appealing for both UK and American hip hop, having a nice contrast on both new and old. And I'm really glad that I actually gave this album a few more chances, because the tracks that I liked at first kept growing more and more with me. Tracks like Offence, Selfish, Wounds and Venom are easily some of my favorite songs of this year, not just for hip hop but in general. If the album had a more solid and more standout second half, we will talk about a far more amazing album, but for what it is, we're still talking about a solid hip hop release. I'm going to give this album a 7 plus out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.